control.
Hey everyone, this is Rachel. Thanks for clicking on my video. And I came in to do a little celebrity gossip and also to say Happy Mother's Day weekend to all the mothers out there. Now on to the gossip. So my first story up is going to be about Matt and Peter. Now, I'm pretty sure y'all know that the video from the brawl at the radio station has dropped and we have all been looking at it. Now, y'all, when I looked at the video, I will say this. Peter was handling himself. But what I also found out is that Peter had a box cutter. So there is a point when Matt charges at Peter. And Peter flips Matt over and has Matt in a headlock. Now, Peter says that Matt is 6'5", he's 33, 34, and Peter is 56. Peter says that all the time Matt was talking shit, he knew that he had a box cutter in his pocket. Now, he said he didn't want to fight Matt, but when Matt charged at him, being younger than him, bigger than him, he was going to defend himself. He said all of his Jamaican shit came out. So when Matt charged, he kind of flipped him over. He said when he got him in that headlock, he was holding that box cutter to Matt's face. Now, eventually, as you watch the video, and I will insert the video, you see that the tables flip, and then Matt has Peter in the in kind of a chokehold or a headlock. Now, what I will say about this is, I think if it had gone on longer, it would have gotten really ugly, because eventually, by Matt being younger, he may have been able to overtake Peter and get Peter down. You got to think Matt is 6'5", 250 pounds, and almost 20 years younger than Peter. I think it would have ended badly, because at that point, if Matt was pounding on Peter, Peter may have been forced to use that box cutter that he admits that he had. Now, I'm going to tell you this, y'all. When I watched the video, whoever that woman was all up in the middle there, she was very courageous, because when men get to fighting, child, I will back up. If I can't get in the room, get out the room, I will get in the corner the furthest away from them that I could, because when they get to swinging punches and you're in the middle of that, child, you might be on the receiving end of some thunder when that punch lands on you, and you may be stretched out on the floor fucking with them. I would not have gotten in the middle of it. Like I said, she has some heart, because I would have been in the back hollering and screaming for somebody to get in there and break these two fools apart. Now, as you watch the video, you see that she's trying to break them, but Matt is not having it. Y'all know back then Matt was all up in his feelings because of all the shit that went on with Kenya, him allegedly not getting paid the $10,000 that he would have gotten paid if they would have invited him to be on the reunion show. So Matt was, you always say Matt is a little crazy, but he was all up in his feelings. So he went into that meeting with Peter with an attitude. And I think that it was going to end the way that it is, no matter what Peter said. Now, like I said, I will say in the beginning, Peter was handling the hell out of him for him to be almost 60 years old. But what eventually happened is Matt's youth, his height, and the weight that he had over Peter eventually flipped the tables. Like I said, I think that if they would allow that to go on, Matt probably would have put it to Peter, but to defend himself, Peter would have used that box cutter. Y'all, I did not know Peter had a box cutter until I read, the stories about it, and I was like, ooh, child, that could have gotten really, really bad. So tell me if y'all have seen the video and what you think about it. I will insert the video down in the description box. Take a look at it and tell me what you think about it. Child, they was down to the radio station acting a fool. On to the next story, y'all. Lee Daniels, Oprah Winfrey, and Tyler Perry. Y'all, recently Monique did a stand-up show. And in that stand-up show, she went in on those three concerning her being blackballed in Hollywood. Now, y'all know years ago, Monique starred in Precious. And after Precious, she won an Oscar. And after that, Monique thought that her career with that Oscar was well on its way. Now, you know, back then she had talked about that Lee Daniels had tapped her to play Cookie on Empire. And Lee Daniels came back and said that, basically that was not true, blah, blah, blah. Now, Monique, after that happened, she started producing receipts showing emails back between her and Lee Daniels concerning just exactly what she said, that she was dubbed to play Cookie. Now, when this happened, the fans went in on Monique, saying that there was no possible way that he, slated her to play Cookie with her fat ass. It was all these jokes about her and blah, blah, blah. And then from then on, Monique was mostly out of the scene. You didn't see her around. Now, I'm going to get back to that in a minute. But this past weekend, Monique did a stand-up show, y'all, and she went in on all three of them. She basically said that in her comedy show that she was not blackballed. She said she was whiteballed by some black dicks who had no balls. She said, "Thank you, Mr. Lee Daniels. Thank you, Mr. Tyler Perry. And thank you, Miss Oprah Winfrey." Now, these are the people that were like producers on the movie Precious. And then she went on to say, "No, baby, I wasn't blackballed. I was fucked up by some niggas who had no balls." Now, y'all, this whole thing with Monique being blackballed. At first, when I first heard it, I thought it was sour grapes because Monique was not chosen to play Cookie on Empire. I just thought she was upset with Lee Daniels because he decided to go another route. But there was this interview, and I don't remember what I watched this interview on, what show it was, where Monique sat down and talked about exactly what happened. Y'all, I came away from that interview believing everything that Monique said, because Monique not only came to the interview with her story, she came with receipts to back up everything that she said. Now, basically, what I believe happened is after the success of Precious, Lee Daniels did want Monique, for Cookie. I believe that that role was written with her specifically in mind. But I think when he started shopping the series Empire, the execs at the network did not want Monique. They wanted to go with someone that they felt a little more appropriate, more TV ready. Now, with Lee Daniels wanting to get his pilot off, Empire, he had faith in it. He wanted to do whatever he needed to do to get that show on the air, and he basically kicked Monique to the curb. Now, here's where I think Monique made a big mistake. I believe Monique didn't know how to play the game. Monique comes from that comedy world, and she's just a regular girl, so she speaks her damn mind. And I believe that she went too far on some of the things that she said. And the more she talked out, the more she defended herself, the more she explained what happened, it kicked her further and further and further away from Hollywood. Now, this recent thing that she just did, y'all, it doesn't make her look any better, to come after Oprah and Tyler Perry. A lot of people like them. And the way that Monique went in, a lot of fans are not going to appreciate that. Now, I must say again, after listening to Monique explain what went down between her and, Lee Daniels, getting her side of the story, I actually believed her. And I was originally from the camp that Monique was just full of sour grapes because she didn't get to play the role of Cookie on Empire. I think, like I said, that Lee Daniels, he wanted to get that show on the air, and he was doing anything and everything to do it, and that meant kicking Monique to the curb. I think Monique was really hurt, after that. And if you really listen to um, the interview, or if you can find that interview Monique did, which I'm so sorry, y'all, I don't remember what it was on, what show it was on, because it was so long ago. Monique talked about that she only got paid $50,000 to do Precious. They didn't know that that movie was going to blow up like that, and after the success of it, I guess she tried to negotiate some more money for herself, and that wasn't happening. They were mad at her because she refused to promote the movie, and Monique's defense was, I wasn't getting anything for doing it. They wouldn't pay for my travel expenses. They wouldn't pay for hair and makeup. All of that would have been on her own dime. Put yourself in Monique's place. Monique agreed to do the movie Precious for a small amount. Now, I feel like this. Once Lee Daniels saw how, big the movie got and the success of it, I think that he should have realized that Monique was a big part of that success, and those executives should have went back in and compensated her after her performance in that movie, because Gabber whatever her name is, Sidibe, was one part of the success, but that movie would not have had the success it did without the role that Monique played. So I never understood why they didn't give her any money. And also, when I think about what she said about them wanting her to promote the movie, why would you promote something that you're not getting anything from? When she talked about that part, I put myself in her position. They wouldn't even pay for airline tickets for her to fly to these different places that they wanted her to promote the movie. Not only that, when she got there was no hair and makeup, no wardrobe, none of that, no transportation. All of that would have been coming out of her pocket. So, y'all, I want to know what y'all think of it. Like I said, I think that this move that she made over the weekend, going in as hard as she did, being as verbal as she was, is not going to help her cause. But I can understand why Monique is mad and why it's hard for her to let it go. Because basically, once she did not promote Precious, you pretty much never heard from Monique again. She is back on the comedy circuit, touring, which I believe is Monique's best place for now. But prior to Precious, Monique did have, roles on television and all of that. And after Precious, she pretty much can't even get hired. Now, I think the reason why there's a problem with her getting hired is because Monique is outspoken. Now, they call it that she's difficult to work with. Is she difficult, or is it that she understands her worth and she's not taking any bullshit from them? Now, y'all let me know what y'all think. Now, we all know Monique got a mouth on her, so maybe she wouldn't have wanted to say what she said over the weekend. But do you understand how she felt after that whole thing with Precious and Empire? Or do you think she needs to go somewhere and sit her ass down and shut her mouth? Leave it down in the comments, because I'd like to know what you guys think. And on to the next story. This next story, y'all, is about Judge Hatchett and the death of her daughter-in-law. Y'all, when I read the story, I could not believe everything that went wrong in this story and how it led to the death of her daughter-in-law. So let me just break this story down to you. So her daughter-in-law, who was 39 years old, was pregnant with her second child, and it was going to be a cesarean. It was a second cesarean. So she arrived at Cedars-Sinai Hospital at approximately 12:30 to have her second baby. Now, her husband, as it's always the case, was in the delivery room with her for the delivery. Now, what they said is that the delivery started about 2:31 p.m. and then their son, Langston Johnson, was born about 2:33 p.m. And they said that the procedure, the entire C-section, was completed about 2:48 p.m. They said about 3 p.m. that Judge Hatchett's daughter-in-law was wheeled to the recovery room, and about 3:04, she was skin-to-skin contact with her baby. Basically they brought the baby in, and she was bonding with her baby. But they said shortly before 5 p.m., after she had her baby, the nurses noticed that there was blood in her catheter, her Foley catheter. And I guess they started monitoring it. Now, at approximately 11:25 p.m., which y'all is a little more than 6 hours later, the hospital noticed that they had a concern that there was some active internal bleeding inside of this woman. And then shortly after, I guess they called the doctor back in, and Judge Hatchett's daughter-in-law was taken to surgery around 12:38 a.m. Now, y'all keep in mind, they noticed the blood in her catheter at about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. They did not take her to surgery until 7 p.m. Now, in the surgery, once they went in, they realized that there were about 3 liters of blood in her abdomen, and they couldn't save her because due to all of the internal bleeding, she was pronounced dead at 2:22 a.m. Now, y'all, I hope y'all followed everything that I said, because basically I was reading that. So after, she was pronounced dead, and the family, got wind of everything that went on, they are now suing the hospital for like gross negligence and suffering that she went through in all those hours. They said that this was a healthy woman that just went in to have her second baby. She had a C-section the first time, and then, there was a C-section the second time. So they're saying that when they detected that blood in her catheter, they should have taken action around that time. They said she should not have laid there for 7 hours with internal bleeding, and the hospital didn't start to take, any type of action until after midnight. Now, y'all, let me just tell you something. What they describe with this woman is basically what happened to me. I don't mean the part about the internal bleeding and all of that. I mean having a C-section with my first child, and then when I had my second child, them telling me that I had to have another C-section. This woman was healthy when she went in there, and I tend to believe that they did not take action soon enough, because when you have a C-section and they're putting everything back together and everything back in you and getting things rearranged back inside of you after they take the baby, one of the first things that they do, once you get up, is they make sure that you're able to use the bathroom correctly, that there's no problem. They're coming in to look at your urine and all of that, and they make sure that there's nothing going on with your internal organs. Now, when they noticed that this woman was bleeding, why wasn't the doctor called in then? Why wasn't the doctor called in at 5 o'clock in the afternoon when they first noticed blood? Because that was a warning sign that something was not right. If she was peeing blood, something was not right, y'all. Why wasn't the doctor called in then? Why did it take 7 hours for the doctor to be called in to assess the situation, and then surgery, a second surgery did not occur till after midnight? So that girl lay there for 7 hours after having her baby with bleeding internally. And then it ultimately led to her death. It wasn't anything that she did. She was completely under the control of that hospital. She had delivered her baby successfully, had even had time to bond with her baby. But it was her care after the baby was born where they were negligent. It was her care. They didn't take care of the mom after the birth. They didn't pay attention to what was going on with her body. So this girl ended up dying. And you know what? I do not blame Judge Hatchett's son for suing that hospital. I do not blame Judge Hatchett for helping her son seek justice in the death of his wife. Because y'all, as women, we say that when we're giving birth, that it's the closest that we come to death. Think about it, women out there who've had babies. At one point, when you're trying to deliver that baby, you're in so much pain that you feel like you want to die because the pain is so great. With a C-section, all of that is performed in an operating room. Once you lay down on that bed and they give you that spinal, you are completely at the mercy of those people that are in that operating room. It's not like she could go inside of herself and correct the bleeding. Once they realized that there was blood in her urine, I'm going to say that again. Some action should have been taken by the doctor, not those nurses that are coming in, checking your blood pressure and, you know, um, your temperature and all that. They needed to call the doctor in. So I feel like they were child way more than negligent because this woman died. So now this baby who was born healthy, beautiful baby, leaves the hospital with no mother. Judge Hatchett's son leaves that hospital with a baby, but his wife is gone now. I wanted to know, did y'all hear about the story? What do you think of it? Judge Hatchett is asking for prayers for their family. They are devastated behind this. Devastated. And well, they should be. So my prayers are up for them. I hope they get some justice on this. But I know Judge Hatchett is very good at what she does. And I believe that Cedars-Sinai is going to pay for this, y'all. Let me know what y'all think down in the comment section. And that brings me to the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next one. And you guys have a great day now. Bye-bye.